All right, Asif.
Okay. Salamun alaikum. Peace, brothers and sisters. Hope you're doing well wherever you are. Today, me, brother Insaan, brother Z, and brother Quran alone Ninja, we have gathered again, and we are going to discuss a lot of pressing issues regarding Hadith. And we all will be providing a lot of proofs and a lot of substance in order for you to think about this matter, as it's a serious matter. So, today we have a new person with us, brother Quran alone Ninja. So, brother,
So,
if you feel like giving some sort of an intro for people, that'll be nice.
oh yeah, so yeah, I'm just Quran alone, and I've recently been following Let's Find the Truth, and just been really inspired by what he's been putting out. That's kind of motivated me to make my own channel. I'm not here to plug my channel or anything, but yeah, I just would like to add to the discourse, um, because I've always been Quran alone. Like I was never like Sunni or anything like that, but anyways, just here to talk about the truth in matters of Deen.
That's brilliant. Inshallah, I'll give you a copy. So if you want, you can put it on your channel as well.
Oh, that's no need. That's no need. You can keep it for yourself.
No worries, no problem. Okay, so today, as brother Z, why don't you begin? Because, uh,
Okay.
yeah, go on.
But
So,
before, can I say something before we
Yes,
start the
go
show?
yes.
ahead.
So Quran alone ninja, he mentioned something. His Quran alone. I think all of us here are this, but I think we should start a new initiative. I think we should no longer call ourselves Quran alone. We should be Muslims. That's what we are, and I think the Sunnis are. They have usurped this word. They took it upon themselves to call themselves Muslims when we know they're not. So I think we should start this initiative now, and we call ourselves Muslims while they are Hadithists. They need to be labeled as such. I
I
think,
agree. I
yeah.
agree.
You
I
know, you
agree.
know, I think it's interesting that you say that. I also feel like they're kind of like, isn't it funny how they hate Shias so much? But
Mhm.
I noticed that Shia means sect,
Yeah,
or like sectarian. So like sometimes I call them Shias
yeah,
because it makes them really mad when you call them that.
yeah. And I think we need to call them Hadithists for what they are. They are not Quran people; they are Hadithists. But we are people who try to follow God's words as much as possible. So we look into His book, and we are Muslims, as far as I'm aware.
Indeed, indeed.
I
So,
agree. I
brother
agree.
Zakaria, Bismillah.
Okay, so guys, last time we spoke, we saw your comments on the previous video. Some of you enjoyed it, so we decided to come up with another video, getting more ahadith that many people probably didn't hear about. So we're gonna just put them here, and you guys will see for yourselves. So this is like the last time we're gonna be speaking about ahadith and all that. So you guys have clear proof. Now it's upon you. Either you take the truth and embrace it, or you keep living in your falsehood. At the end of the day, we delivered the message, and it's upon you. And for those uh, who are already following Quran only, the true Muslims, a massive respect to you guys. Just keep being patient, and victory is always for the righteous and the patient ones. And for those who keep on following hadith and trying to associate books with the book of Allah, we tell you, die in your rage. We will be fighting you till the end. All right. So listen, I'm just gonna share my screen real quick, Insan.
Yeah.
Okay, another suggestion I'd give you guys: whoever is not speaking, if they press mute, is gonna make more sound clear for the speaker.
Okay, can you guys see it well?
Yes.
Perfect. So as I'm gonna start with this first verse, and we can elaborate on it. Here, what does it say? It says, وَلَقَدْ جِئْنَاهُمْ بِكِتَابٍ فَصَّلْنَاهُ عَلَى عِلْمٍ هُدًى وَرَحْمَةً لِقَوْمٍ يُؤْمِنُونَ. We have certainly brought them a book which we explained with knowledge, a guide, and a mercy for those who believe. So for those who say that the Quran is not enough as an explanation, Allah is saying that He explained the book. So any of you guys who try to say the book is not clear, you're actually contradicting Allah. It's very simple, you know what I mean? This is like simple logic. What do you guys think about what I'm saying here?
It's so simple that I'm shocked people still can't comprehend this simple fact. It's God's words are clear, and they go behind God's words and do something else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very straightforward.
you see the word fassalnahu is there. Fassalna and mufassal, fassal, Faisal. You know the name Faisal. They all come from this completion root. So people can't say that, oh, the Quran has this and that. I saw a couple of debates in the last week, and I saw a person having a debate with a woman at Speaker's Corner, and she had a very good stance, and she was tackling the person purely. But there was one part where she got stuck, and the guy took over, and he made the whole video that title. So he asked her, okay, if the Quran is complete, what if you go to sleep and you wake up and you've done wudu before? Has your wudu broken or not? So, Insan, what would you like to say on this part?
I'd like to say I look at the book of God and say, see what he says. And in this case, he didn't say anything regarding that. So
Yeah,
So,
Allah said
that's
like فإذا قمتم إلى الصلاة, if you like stand up to go to prayer, just do wudu. It's very simple. Each time you go to do prayer with Allah, you just do wudu. You know, it's simple.
yeah,
There's no need to
that
complicate
sounds
things.
that sounds sense. But in my understanding, like for example, look, the Sunni brought a thing in front of her which made her confused. Okay, now the thing is, he was saying the wudu is this thing, and we understand that if you go to sleep it will break according to hadith, right? But then in my understanding, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the Quran fassalna. So if they are saying that wudu, then in my understanding, then it's a different topic. We'll talk later, inshallah. That is, does wudu actually means cleaning your face and everything, or does it mean something entirely different?
So the way I see it is this: when we read the Quran, it tells us every time you're about to do salat, you do wudu. So one follows the other one. Now you can sleep and you can wake up 10 times, but prior to every salat, you should do the wudu. Now, what
Exactly.
does the wudu entails? I'm not so sure, but clearly the commandments are very clear. You should wash your hands, face, hair, and so on and so forth. The way I see it is this: if I put myself in this situation where, imagine I wasn't a Muslim and I come and I'm looking for God, and I look at Sunnis with their offering, and which is really a bunch of hearsays, and I look at the Shia, same thing, they're offering their own books, and I ask them the question: why should I follow you and not you? Why should I follow the Shia and not the Sunni? Why should I follow the Sunni and not the Shia? The only thing they will claim is, look at our books. We have the science of man. We have this guy called Bukhari. He assembles a bunch of hadiths, and you say, okay, fine. What's the proof? What is the proof that it's real? It's true. Can you provide? Because God tells us in the Quran, "Atu burhanakum." Ask them to bring you the proof. So, as much as whatever they do, the Sunnis, the Shia have the exact same thing. They can provide their own hadiths. Now, as a non-Muslim, for instance, I'm sitting there and looking at them and I'm thinking, well, they can both offer a lot of words, a lot of poems, a lot of hadiths, but where exactly is the truth? When I look at the Quran, on the other hand, there's a verse, chapter 6, I believe chapter 6, verse, let's see here, 114. It says,
Can you
well,
guys see it?
614, yeah, we see it, perfect. So it says here,
Yes.
should I seek a judge other than Allah while He is the one who has revealed for you the book with the truth, perfectly explained? So, perfectly explained. Those who were given the scripture know that it has been revealed to you from your Lord. So, do not be one of those who doubt. Now, this translation here is a bit different than the actual word in Arabic. In Arabic, it says, Zakaria, can you please read? الذين.
Where is it? والذين آتيناهم الكتاب
Yeah,
يعلمون أنه منزل من ربك
there you
بالحق.
go. So in the actual Arabic, it says those the ones we brought them the book, they know that it's from your Lord with the truth. See, so people can feel the Quran. They know it's from God. There's something magical that happens within it. Okay, and of course there are other ways to know that it's from God. But the Quran, when you read it, you know it's from God. Contrary to hadiths that are offered by many different people, not just the Sunnis and Shias and whatever, many different denominations, many different religions, they will offer you nothing but superstition and hearsay. And they will all have their own methods to provide so and so for their own hadiths. Anyway, I think I'm going in circle here.
No, you perfectly explained it. You're exactly right. It makes sense. This is why we this is basically where we jump into you were saying regarding a hadith. This is the first one we got here, right? When it says this is where this Sahih Bukhari, their famous book, said, were it not for Bani Israel, meat would not decay. So this is the first problem, right? So before Bani Israel, meat didn't have an expiry date or what? See, this is the crazy part. Allah Azza wa Jal, when He created this world, everything has a beginning and everything has an end, right? Everything has an expiry date. So it doesn't make sense where it says, like, were it not for Bani Israel, meat would not decay. What does it mean? Like, does it mean before Bani Israel, meat was not decaying? It was perfectly fine all the time. And the second part is, and were it not for Eve, no woman would ever betray her husband. So if this is actually true, why would Allah Azza wa Jal judge a woman that cheated on her husband? Because apparently it's the fault of Eve, right? So, and even this story of Eve is not even in the Quran, you know what I mean? Like, it's all nonsense, everything just made up. You can all see it here in front of your face. What do you guys think?
I think very valid, very valid.
Yeah, and also we have many instances. For example, the wife of Noah, she betrayed him. See, there's many stories in the Quran where it shows this is a natural thing that happens. It's, you know, but again, if you read this hadith on its own, what kind of betrayal is it? Is it a cheating betrayal? Is it loyalty betrayal? There's a lot of things. It's just, you know, these are simply words that mean nothing really at the end of the day. Absolutely nothing.
So hey guys, I'd like to bring up a verse from An-Nisa 460, and the English translation is, "Have you not seen those who claim to believe in what was revealed to you and what was revealed before you? They wish to refer legislation to Taghut while they are commanded to reject it, and Shaitan wishes to lead them far astray." And you know, that's sort of like, that's what I think of, you know, when I see these hadiths, as like, you know, I'm from America, right? And in where I'm from, there's really no community of like Muslims. So I discovered the Quran by myself, and you know, when I see these hadiths and stuff, it's just so crazy to me. It's almost like it almost seems like a movie, to be honest. It's hard for me to even believe that like people actually believe this sort of thing. But yes, it is very ridiculous, and in light of the Quran, like yeah, you know, it doesn't make any sense. And
You're right.
this verse, I feel like perfectly explains the state of the Sunnis, because it's like they claim to believe in what was revealed, but you know, they refer legislation to, you know, basically idol worship, you know.
Yeah, and it's like it goes as far as they believe in things that go against the Quran, verse for verse. For example, I can't remember the exact verse, but God tells you about when you go hunting, and you can take your dog, and your dog will hunt with you, and you can eat from whatever the dog hunts for you. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
No, not the verse.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know what you mean.
What is it? Can you guys say? I can pull it up here.
Wal kalbi wal jawari, that verse, right?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's
Let's see. While you're looking for this verse, I'll explain. For example, something, and every time I want people to actually ponder, because the whole purpose of the Quran, it tells you literally in every single page to reason, ponder, observe. These are qualities that every Muslim must have. It's never to follow, it's to ponder. It's to follow the Prophet, but the Prophet is gone. So what you are left with is pondering, thinking, reason, and logic. So again, God is telling us, if you go hunting, whatever your dog hunts for you, it's okay for you to eat. So let me ask you a question. How does the dog hunt? He's not gonna stand up on two paws and use his two other paws to hunt. Dogs hunt using their mouths, right? So dog is gonna go and he's gonna bite upon the prey and he's gonna bring it to you. That prey you can eat. That prey, of course, the dog has touched, his saliva has touched, and yet you are able to eat it. You can wash it and you can eat it. Now, contrast that with the hadiths, where dogs are evil, especially black dogs are evil, where if a dog touches you, your wudu is gone, where the dog is regarded as one of the filthiest animals in hadiths. It goes against the Quran, where God tells you, even if your dog hunts for you with his mouth, you can eat it. Right? So
This is it, right?
Yep. But you see here it says hunting animals, but in the Arabic it says mukallibin. Comes from the word kalb.
Yeah, mukallibin means people with the dogs.
Yeah. But here they changed it because based on their hadith, they changed the translation to fit the hadith narrative, and they put hunting animals. And of course,
And there's
even if you
the companions of the cave. They had a dog as well. Sorry.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. And it's called the same thing, kelb. But even if they hypocritically changed the word from dog to hunting animals. And even hunting animals, what hunting animals are there? It's mostly carnivores that hunt, really. You can't have a sheep hunt. It's usually falcons, dogs, whatever, but it's always a carnivore. So either way, this right here, this verse is telling you, if your dog hunts for you, you can eat it. It's okay. It's good. It's okay. So again, reason this out. Who is it that brought us these hadiths that talk bad against the dogs? Well, it happened to be Mr. Abu Huraira. He used to be a Jew who converted, just like Paul for Christianity, who was actually a Jewish man who converted into supposedly Christianity. Same thing with Abu Huraira. Used to be a Jewish man who supposedly converted into Islam. And now he is the one and only person who maybe lived with the Prophet 2-3 years max. And he's produced the highest number of hadiths in the thousands.
Around 5,000, yeah.
There we go, in the thousands. So compare that with Omar, Abu Bakr, and all the companions that lived from their childhood with the Prophet. They don't have any actual book of their own, nothing. Yet this guy, Abu Huraira, 2 years, 3 years living with the Prophet, has amassed the highest number of. And this guy, Abu Huraira, as you know, the Huraira means cat. Is that correct, Zakaria?
Yeah.
He used to be a cat lover. Guess what? His hadiths are against dogs. He hates dogs. So you understand, people, this is what I'm trying to tell you. You have to really ponder upon things. If God's words are telling you, if the dog hunts for you, you are allowed and lawful for you to eat. How can you go against that and say dogs are bad, are evil? If the dog touches you, your wudu is gone? Anyway, I rest my case for now.
This is how they're twisting the words. You can see it directly in the translation.
And by the way,
interesting that you brought up Abu Huraira. He was associated, allegedly, according to the history, with another man named Kab al-Athbar. And he was allegedly jailed by Omar for making up lies about Muhammad. And him and Abu Huraira were very close. And Kab, if you look into what he says, he says a lot of things that are very reminiscent to what you might read in the Talmud or other Jewish sources as well.
Yeah, it's true. Like it's even in their books. It's called, I think, Siyar A'lam Nubala, meaning it's like the biographies of the companions and all. They speak about what you just mentioned about Umar ibn al-Khattab.
Zakaria, I'll just it's so amazing. He was talking about it and I took out a page from the book you just named, so I'm sharing it. Can you
Perfect.
Where is it? Yeah, Insaan, can you can you read this, Zakaria?
سمعت عمر بن الخطاب يقول يا أبي هريرة لتتركن الحديث عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أو لألحقنك بأرض دوس, meaning you will stop narrating hadith about the Prophet or like shun you back to your hometown. It's Daws, I think it's in
Yeah,
Yemen.
he's from those. Yeah.
Yeah, and he told also وقال لكعب لتتركن الحديث أو لألحقنك بأرض القردة. You will stop narrating hadith or I'll shun you as well into the land of monkeys. I don't know where is that.
Subhanallah. Well, I can laugh on this. I'm sorry because it's about the Lord of the Cats.
That's the thing.
So you see, this actually how I found out is because my teacher was telling somebody on a video, and he opened these books, and he can read Arabic, and he was showing, and I was like, that is really fascinating because people don't know. I also have made a video about Abdullah, who's that? Um, Abbas, Ibn Abbas. So basically, he was 10 years old when the Prophet died. He spent only maybe 30 months with the Prophet, but he covers a big chunk of the books.
Yeah, according to my limited research, which is limited, I don't claim to have a lot of knowledge on hadith or anything. Those three people, Ibn Abbas, Kab, and Abu Huraira, they're like the trinity of falsehood, you know. When you read what they have to say, just you could go to a site like safaria.org. You don't have to do that now, but there's a site called safaria.org, and it has like the Talmud, it has all the Jewish sources in it. And there have been times where I've actually put a quote from Kab or from Abu Huraira, and then you just copy and paste it, and you'll see that the Talmud has the exact same thing, word for word. Um,
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually like this is what most hadithists fail to understand. The so-called Islamic culture, which is not Islamic, but the so-called Islamic culture is actually literally 99% Jewish traditions. It's all that. All the hadiths, all they have done is transfer the Jewish traditions, Jewish Talmudic traditions, into the so-called Muslims. That's all it's done. For example, you look at many things. Um, like for example, when Abraham had to sacrifice his son in the Quran. Okay, nowhere in that verse does it mention a sheep. Nowhere. Okay, and yet every Muslim they slaughter a sheep every single year. You have in some nations rivers flowing red because of the amount of blood flowing from these sheep. Every single year you have millions of sheep being slaughtered on a single day. Why? Supposedly, Abraham slaughtered a sheep, but nobody, I can guarantee you, 99% of Muslims don't even know this. Sheep is not mentioned in that verse in the Quran at all. Understand?
Do you know the number of the verse? Because I'm going to show you something really amazing from there.
Uh,
The number of the verse for that.
Let me see if I can find it. One sec.
I'll also check. Safat verse about the dream.
99 to 113.
Yes,
Chapter
yes,
37.
yes. Who's sharing right now?
You?
I'm sharing. Huh? One sec. Where is that gone?
While you search, I want to say something. What I'm
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
say is the reason I'm saying this is because as Muslims, when we do something, you cannot do it by ignorance and claim refuge in God afterwards, because God tells you do not follow something unless you have knowledge about. So, for example, when we do something, let's say we slaughter a sheep. I'm not saying that's wrong necessarily, but when you slaughter that because you got that information from hadiths and not the Quran, you have to ask yourself a question. That's all I'm saying. Does that make sense, Z?
Yeah, I get your point. The thing is, the verse is in Surah Safat. It says, وَفَدَيْنَاهُ بِذَبْحٍ عَظِيم. To be
Yep.
honest, this is a point I don't really agree with you because فَدَيْنَاهُ, it means we ransomed him with a great sacrifice. You know what I mean? It doesn't say sheep specifically. You're right. But,
Okay, check
you know
this.
what I mean?
Yep.
The
Let
screen
me.
I've shared. Yeah. Okay. Okay. This Zakaria, I want you to read that. This 102. 102.
فلما بلغ معه السعي قال يا بني إني أرى في المنام أني أذبحك فانظر ماذا ترى قال يا أبت أفعل ما تؤمر فعل ما
Okay,
تؤمر ستجدني إن شاء الله من الصابرين.
okay. Now in the Arabic, what does this mean? Anni inni ara fil manam.
Means I'm seeing in a
You see,
dream.
it's saying he is seeing.
Yeah, in
Okay,
a dream.
and then let's go to 105 here. قد صدقت رؤيا.
Okay.
So what's the meaning of this? In قد صدقت رؤيا.
قد صدقت الرؤيا.
Yeah,
You have confirmed the vision or
you've
fulfilled
confirmed
the
the vision.
vision.
Vision. That means whatever the dream was, he fulfilled it. It doesn't say that it was slaughtering.
Okay, so what's your point? Did he slaughter
My
it in the
point,
dream?
no, my point is that it was not about slaughtering because whatever it was, he did it.
Okay.
So
And how
yeah,
about the
There's
other
no
verse? How
human
can you explain it?
sacrifice. There's no human sacrifice in the Quran, I think is what he's trying to get at.
yeah, because
Okay.
like whatever it was, whatever the sacrifice was, Allah tells us in 105 that he had fulfilled it. And then this is how Allah rewards the people that do good.
On top of that, if I can add,
Yeah.
so when you read the Quran, God tests human beings and he tests them with many ways, sickness, poverty, wealth, whatever it might be, but never by killing, never telling somebody to kill. So you think, why would God ask someone innocent like Abraham to kill another innocent soul? This is not a trait of Allah. It's not a trait of Allah. So this is not the way Allah tests people by telling them to kill. So the reason why I'm saying this is Jewish traditions. This is their own Talmudic traditions that are brought into Islam. When you read this verse as it stands, there's nowhere where it mentions sheep, there's nowhere it mentions human sacrifice, but it talks about illusions. It talks about a dream or something that has happened in there.
Not illusion, a vision.
A vision, sorry, that's what I mean. Yeah, a
Yeah,
vision.
yeah.
So, but again, I'm not going to claim I know what this verse necessarily say 100%, but what I am saying is I would rather abstain from simply slaughtering sheep in the basis that this is what God intended of me. No, I can slaughter sheep to give to the poor and whatnot, but to make a tradition, a ritual, and a religious tradition out of it, I'm just wondering if you have millions of people in one singular day killing millions of sheep, what are the consequences of this in God's sight? I'm just questioning.
I have a very good point. When I was young, and this thing used to affect me a lot when I was older as well. So the thing was that whenever you look at other cultures, like in the form of cartoons or movies or something, whenever you see like an oppressing emperor, he either tells people to sacrifice for him, kill people, spill blood, because he is getting orders from some deity, either the sun god or some shaitan. And the second thing I've seen is Pharaoh, for instance, telling people to do sajda to him. So these two rituals, I always used to be like, why, when Islam is a religion of peace, why does Allah want us to do this while these other tyrants are making people do that? Anybody want to say something?
Well, I'd like to add on the previous point. It's like regarding sacrifice and slaughter. It's like we as humans, like we do eat meat, and there's evidence from the Quran that like Ibrahim, he had a guest, and he brought some meat for him to eat. So like there's nothing wrong with eating meat, obviously, but I do agree when it's what he's saying when he says you don't make a religious tradition. Like we're not gonna say like, oh, Allah commands us to slaughter a sheep, you know.
Yeah, like have
Um,
you seen that movie Apocalypto? It
no,
was a
no, to be honest.
movie made by Mel Gibson, and it was made in the old Aztec language. So in that they show the Aztec Empire, they show those square pyramids, and they show big emperors sitting up there, angry man, and making people, like people are lined up slaves. They go attack other villages, they bring slaves, and they sacrifice them in front of the sun. And then what happens is that one guy, when they're about to sacrifice him, the eclipse happens, and everybody gets scared because their god is like hidden now. and they think that this man that they were about to slaughter is a cursed guy. They leave him. So yeah, like this is some kind of a imprint in my head already about that.
I think I think
uh,
when they depict these like Aztec, I'm sorry, but real quick, I think when they depict the Aztec civilizations and like these sort of pagan civilizations, it's really kind of mirroring the people of Ibrahim. Because if you look at the people of
Yes,
Ibrahim, like they they like tried to kill Ibrahim, and they worshipped the sun, they worshipped idols, all sorts of idols, and you know, I personally, this is sort of off topic, but I don't really believe that that was the true history. But I believe that over time
me
they
too,
sort of
me too.
they
you
sort
know
of imposed that on them. It's like, oh, you were in the past the idol worshiper, mushrik.
Yeah, could be,
When
could
that's
be.
probably not true.
there is one universal truth, which is never to believe history. It's as simple as that. We don't even know what our parents lived in their lifetime. I don't even know how my grandfather lived. I can't even remember what his name is. So to say we can remember history as it stands, no, it's impossible. But what I'm trying to say is this: I don't mind if God tells me to slaughter a sheep. I will do it 100% if it's mentioned in the Quran. If it tells me religiously, ritualistically, slaughter a sheep, I will do it. I have no problem with that. What I am saying is this: when we have a population that call themselves Muslims and are supposed to represent Islam doing things that are not necessarily in the Quran, now I have to question them. Where are you getting this from? Which is the subject matter that we're talking about today. They're getting all these
Exactly,
things
exactly.
from the Hadiths. Okay, so if you think you can do something and claim it, you can do anything. And we eat meat, and that's fine, 100%. I'm a huge meat lover, and I love it, and I eat meat. But if we do something as a population of whatever billion, 2 billions, and we claim it's from God, do you think saying lies about God like this has no consequences? I will say no. It has huge consequences, and we're living them now.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so brothers and sisters, here we have a beautiful hadith. Sorry, I kind of shifted gears because we have a lot to cover. So this hadith, it goes like this. Anas said, Sulaim used to spread a leather sheet for the Prophet, and he used to take a midday nap on that leather sheet at her home. Anas added, when the Prophet had slept, she would take some of his sweat and hair and collect it in a bottle and then mix it with souk, a kind of perfume, while he was still sleeping. When the death of Anas bin Malik approached, he advised that some of that souk be mixed with his hanout perfume for the dead body, and it was mixed with this hanout. So basically, in this hadith, they're saying that first of all, they're making the Prophet a supernatural person, that his sweat, while everybody's sweat stinks, his sweat is sweet. Because and because in the Quran he says that just a man like you. And then the second thing is that there's a tradition of shrouding the dead and then applying some sort of perfume on it. So that comes here as well. When he said, when my death comes, you do this on my body. So you see, this is also like this is the way that they've inserted uh, un-Islamic, un-Quranic things in the religion.
And isn't there a group of like I believe it's Sufis that actually have a piece of hair, and they claim that it's like the hair of the Prophet.
Well,
They have this hair, right?
I'll tell you a story. Basically, I told it to some friend the other day when I was young in Pakistan. I don't know, like my mom and the ladies and all, they were into doing these religious sort of ceremonies and cook food and all of that. So they took me somewhere, and it was in a building like third floor apartment, and there was a big line till the end and outside of the building. So, well, a lot of time passed, 2 3 hours. I got inside, and then I saw there was a glass boxed encasing, and people were like, reciting durud and going around it like tawaf. And when I got near to see what it is, it was strands of hair. And then I found out that this is a beard hair of the Prophet. And I was thinking to myself that since whenever he's been here, so many things might have happened. Storms, this, that, calamities, wars, earthquakes. People have this hair. where are they getting it from? You know? Yeah. So anybody wanna?
It's pure nonsense, and it's like I think and I think it's kind of this is sort of pivoting in another direction. Sorry if this isn't the plan, but you know, they have this culture, or Sunnis and Shias have this culture of like also isnad, right? Like chain of narration, and I think it's
Yeah,
really silly because anyone could
very
fake
relevant.
that.
This is very
Anyone
relevant,
can
please.
fake that though. I mean, I could, and it's like especially if you know about forging documents, anyone can forge a document, right? Very relatively easy to do, and it would be even easier to just forge like, oh, so and so said, so and so said, so and so said. That's the easiest thing ever.
Yeah, very correct, very
Z,
correct.
do you have any hadith?
Let me get some more.
If you don't have one, I actually found a
Yeah,
hadith,
yeah. Pull in, bro.
and I'll tell you what it is. One moment.
Can you hear me?
Uh,
Sorry, I was muted.
No worries.
Can you
Al
guys see the
Bukhari.
hadith here?
Okay, go
Uh,
ahead.
Okay, show us yours, and then Ninja can show us his after.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, so I'm gonna be quick here. As you can see, the Prophet said, "Do not wish to be like anyone except in two cases: a person whom Allah has given wealth and he spends it righteously, and the second is the one whom Allah has given wisdom. All right, and he acts according to it and teaches it to others." See, this is another deviation. Insan, I'm pretty sure you understand what is used here. The word hasad, right?
Yeah.
And what is hasad in Arabic? In Arabic, hasad does not mean do not wish to be like anyone. It's a wrong translation. Hasad means it's being envious so that the other person loses this blessing. It's a negative feeling. You understand? And
Yeah.
Allah Azza wa Jal explains in the Quran where He says, "Am yahsudun nas," or do they envy the people for Allah's bounties? And in another verse, Allah says as well, وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ, from the evil of an envier when they envy. So when we go back to hadith, you can see here hasada, hasid. Compared here is the same word, but here it says do not wish to be like anyone. Now, do you really think that the Prophet said la hasad illa fithnain, meaning there's no hasad only in two? Allah said that hasad is not good, whereas the Prophet says hasad is okay. You can wish for someone's blessing to go away, like being very jealous to the point that you want Allah to remove this blessing from him. Do you really think this is what the Prophet teaches?
Beautiful point. Beautiful point. And there's another thing I want to add. The Hadith Lantern, Muslim Lantern, on his channel, he made a video about Hadith rejectors. Okay, and in that he clearly said uh, the Al Kitab wal Hikmah. Okay, now they say Hikmah is Hadith book, but you see over here in the Hadith it says whom Allah has given wisdom, the Holy Quran. So you see the contradiction. In the Hadith, it's saying that the Hikmah is the Quran, but they say the Hikmah is Hadith.
Yeah, Hikmah is part of the Quran as well. That's what they don't get it. Like, Kitab is the whole book, and Hikmah is part of the whole book. It does not mean Hadith in any way, shape, or form.
Basically, if you start debating a Sunni, you will see that they have like 20 bot type questions that they keep repeating. They have same questions, same things that they would like to counter people with.
Yep. Ninja, do you
Yeah,
have
that's
another
why
Hadith?
I was really impressed when I saw Let's Find the Truth debating with those Sunnis because he was ready for the prayer. You saw how he was like he was loaded and ready with that how do you pray question. But then when
Yeah,
you
all
you
the time.
you got him off guard with prove the history. How can you prove the history is real, you know? And they can't do that. It's essentially impossible for them.
It's like a history based religion. They have historical personalities to look up to. It's very look, what I've noticed in this age, if you want to follow the Quran only, you will literally have to reject everything because we're in the age of deception. We can't trust anything. So it is hard. It's a big pill to swallow.
And if you guys are ready for the hadith that I wanted to address, it's Sunan an Nasai. I might be mispronouncing that, sorry.
No worries.
Uh,
Do you want to share what are
but
you on iPad? Or are you on computer?
wait a minute. I'm on my phone, but I have like a iPad in front of me. and that's what
Okay,
I'm reading the
okay.
hadith.
Tell Zakaria then. Zakaria, do it for him.
What is the
Zakaria
number?
5379, Sunan an-Nasa'i 5379.
While he's looking at, do you know what Nisai means actually?
Honestly, no, like
Nisai
I'm.
means feminist or feminism or something like that.
Oh my goodness, that's kind of funny.
And Nawawi means nuclear, and
Oh,
Bukhari means steam engine. So I don't know how come these names were existing in 7th century while these are later inventions.
yeah, these are most certainly later inventions. So I'm gonna just read the English real quick. If you want to read the Arabic, go ahead. But it's basically the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Those who are just and fair will be with Allah, the Most High, on thrones of light, at the right hand of the Most Merciful. Those who are just in rulings and dealings with their families, and those who are in charge." And said in Hadith, and both his hands are right hands. That's kind of the point I wanted to address. Is this these both hands are right hands part? Is this is exactly what could be found in the Talmud, the two right hands. It's like you know, because it's all over the Bible, this obsession with the right hand, like, and this is superstition. This is and I'm gonna go to the Quran. The Quran. One moment. If you have something you'd like to add, feel free. But sorry, I'm doing a search. But basically, the Quran says like those who follow superstition, who claim to follow the messenger, but they follow. Okay, An-Nisa 451. Have you not seen those who are given a portion of the book who believe in Jibd, superstition, and Ta'ud, and say about the disbelievers, these are better guided than the believers as to the way. And that's like so beautiful to me because like with the Sunnis, right, like they'll say like, oh, Quran only are misled, we are guided, and it's always like that. It's never like they never say like, oh, Quran only are misguided, but we're just open, we're open to figuring out what the truth is. It's always you're wrong, I'm right. You know what I mean? And it reeks of arrogance. But they themselves are very superstitious. They have this right hand thing, like they can't wipe their butt with their right hand. Um, very very crazy. I'm gonna go on mute. But what do you guys think?
I think you said something very interesting, which is they reek of arrogance, and that's the truth. I've always noticed the Hadithists, I'm going to call them Hadithists from now on, by the way. The Hadithists are a people who look at themselves as if they are teachers, never the students. And that's something you can never be in life, especially if you want to be on the path of God. You must always be a student, wanting to learn and being open to learning new ideas. But what's interesting is the arrogance that they possess. You see, that's one of the biggest signs of Iblis. It's arrogance. That's why he's kafir. It's his arrogance that he is better than us, better than Adam. That alone is what makes him the arrogant one. So, if anything, arrogance is a trait of Iblis. One should never have that kind of trait if you want to be on the path of God.
I agree. Can I add something to this as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Like he said, you can't be on the right path if you're not a student and be able to listen. Allah said it in a lot of verses in the Quran where He says, تحسب أن أكثرهم يسمعون أو يعقلون إن هم إلا كالأنعام. Do you really think that most of them actually listen or reflect? This is how the truth. This is how you can start to see the truth. Just listen. Listen and use your reasoning, and be sincere. You'll get to the truth. But each time, like us with Insaan, when we try to speak with those who have knowledge, like shuyukh and imams of masjid, they always like have an answer ready. They never take the time to actually think about the questions we're asking them, because we're trying to make them think. They don't want that. They only have like ready answers all the time, and it's always the same thing. But if you'd actually take a minute, things will become way clearer.
Yeah. Can you pull up chapter 29, verse 51, please?
Which verse? 21?
5:1.
5:1.
While y'all are looking for that, I believe there's a verse in the Quran where it says like, "Do not claim to be pure." Um, I believe that
Yes,
that might not be the wording, but you know that's kind of with me. Like I don't claim that I'm like this holy person. Like you know I have my flaws. I make my mistakes. I'm not perfect by any means. But you know, going back on the arrogance thing, it's like look how the so-called ulamas like carry themselves. You know, like the white robes. They dress in these flowing robes like they're trying to look like angels. I feel like that's what they're doing with that's why they always wear the white with the gold, you know, and it's like they dress differently than everyone else. Like everyone in the masjid will just be wearing common clothes, but then they're up on the pulpit, right, in this flowing white garment with gold, and it's just so showy, you know. It's ridiculous. I think it's just as bad as like the Catholics and the Christians.
of course, absolutely. I mean, I I'm not gonna name names because I don't want the audience to be upset too much, but very prominent speakers, okay? And while the so-called conflict in Gaza was happening, they were making videos on how to put smoke in your beard so it smells better. You see, so if you are Hadithists, and this is the type of people you look up to, dressed like angels, talking about how they can perfume their beards, while the so-called their brothers and sisters are dying. It should tell you something about this person. It should tell you something about yourself as well. And look at this verse here, for example, chapter 29, verse 51. Is it not enough for them that we have sent down to you the book, which is recited to them? Surely in this Quran is a mercy and a reminder for the people who believe. You see, for the people who believe, this book is enough for them. If you feel like it's not enough for you, this book, I have to tell you something. You are not a believer. I'm not saying this. These are the direct quotes of God, your creator. He's telling you right here. Now, do you have the two brain cells required to understand this verse? It's very simple. Is it not enough for you that we have sent you this book? This is enough for people who believe. Now, do the opposite. If it's not for you, then you do not believe. There we go.
Very simple. Very well said. We can move on to another hadith as well. Let's see here. This one was already done. All right.
You
Okay,
know,
so
there's
here,
also go ahead, sorry.
no worries. So here it said that Messenger of, it's a bit long hadith. I'll try to be fast with it. Messenger of Allah, no doubt, we had an evil time. I'm meaning the days of ignorance, and God brought us a good time, Islamic period, to which we were now living. Will there be a bad time after this good time? He, the Prophet, said, yes, there will be a good time. Will there be a good time after this bad time? He said, yes. He said, yes. I said, will there be a time after? Bro, see, the thing as well in hadith, they always repeating 3 times, man. Like, I don't know. It's simple, you know? Why not just ask it once?
They confuse you, yeah.
Yeah, man. And it says there will be leaders who will not be led by my guidance. In Arabic, it says, let me see here. He said, يكون بعدي أئمة لا يهتدون بهداي. There will be among men, there will be leaders who will not be led by my guidance. So this is the first error we find, right? The Prophet has no guidance. The guidance is from God. Here Allah says in the Quran, قل إن هدى الله هو الهدى. Never will the Jews or Christians be pleased with you until you follow their faith. Say Allah's guidance is the only true guidance. Whereas here in this hadith, it says, there will be leaders who will not be led by my guidance. So whose is it? Is there Prophet guidance or Allah's guidance? Allah says the true guidance is Allah's guidance. So this is the first error we can find in this hadith. It shows that it's man-made, you know. It's bound to have mistakes. And then what does it say? There will be among them men who will have the hearts of devils in the bodies of human beings. I said, what should I do, O Messenger of Allah, if I happen to live in that time? He replied, you will listen to the Amir and carry out his orders, even if your back is flogged and your wealth is snatched. You should listen and obey. Okay, we go back to the Quran. What does it say? وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَهُمُ الْبَغْيُ هُمْ يَنْتَصِرُونَ. This is Allah speaking about the believers, and who enforce justice when wrong. Meaning, more precisely in Arabic, what does it say? It says that الَّذِينَ أَصَابَهُمُ الْبَغْيُ, those who have been afflicted by tyranny, they defend themselves and get their rights back. Now, why would I keep silent if a tyrant ruler comes and takes the money that I worked hard for, me and my family, for generations, right? He just comes and takes it. I should just shut up. That goes against the Quran, you know what I mean? And Allah says the reward of an evil deed is its equivalent. But whoever pardons and seeks reconciliation, then the reward is with Allah. And even if you read the whole Quran, right? Speaking about the subject that was mentioned here in the hadith, where it says you listen to the Amir, and even if your back is flogged and your wealth is snatched, all over the Quran, all the stories we can read in the Quran, it's against oppression, it's against injustice, it's against rulers taking wealth from the poor. For example, the story of Musa alayhi salam and Fir'aun. Allah sent Musa to remove Bani Israel from the oppression that they were in. Most people think that it was only just to invite him to Allah Azza wa Jal. Fir'aun knows who is Allah. It's not that. But this guy thinks he is Allah in other ways. He thinks he's God because he has all the riches in the world, and he passed his limit. You know what I mean? And he took Bani Israel as slaves to him. He would basically just kill them and rape their women, and he just thinks he's the real tyrant. You know what I mean? So when Allah sent Musa alayhi salam, is to remind him that, listen, what you're doing here is crossing the line, and I am warning you, right? And he also sent Musa alayhi salam to remind Bani Israel to stop being humiliated. The reason why Fir'aun kept doing what he was doing is because Bani Israel were just sitting still, they weren't fighting. If all Bani Israel would actually band up together and say, we will not submit to you, we submit only to God. You are no one to come here and enslave us, take our money and work for you for free. We will fight you till death. You know what I mean? We're not slaves to you. We're slaves to God alone. That what should have been done. So this hadith, it goes against the whole message in the Quran for standing up for justice, fighting oppression, fighting tyranny. That's mostly it.
These
Yeah.
type of hadiths. Sorry, go ahead, Ninja.
Oh, I was just going to say, and if you look at every verse in the Quran basically about fighting, you see that it's always in the context of self-defense against
Right.
tyranny and against oppression.
Yep.
So this violates every verse in the Quran about fighting.
About other hadith that claim that you should go fight people. Yeah, I agree.
And the thing with these hadiths, it's to docile people, and this type of sayings, they exist in every single religion in the world, including Christianity, for example. A bunch of verses have been removed, and the ones that were left and always propagated is turn the other cheek. This is the way for the elite class to docile people, to make them mush. And God does not want you to be that kind of mush. God wants you to be a peaceful, stable person, but never a coward, and never somebody who accepts injustice. Because you might accept injustice now, and you will say, I'm going to be patient. And by the way, patience in the Quran is not this. It's not just allow people to oppress you and just be okay with it. It's not that. Patience is always try, even if you fail, be patient and have hope and continue. That's what patience means in the Quran. So what God wants us to be is a people who are strong and steadfast, patient, but always in the fight for justice.
Yeah,
Never
when
say,
the time comes, they're ready.
Always ready. You should always be ready, because what's the whole purpose of this world? We're
Right.
not going to know when we live, when we die. We might die tomorrow, all four of us. We don't know. We might sleep tonight and never wake up. So this kind of hadiths, which are the most, for me, the most dangerous hadiths out of all, because these are what causes people to lose their individuality by being docile and just accepting. And if you read the Quran, for example, and this is something very important, people, I keep telling you, you have to read the Quran. Read it with courage. Allow yourself to be courageous enough to kind of move away from the limits of bondage that the Hadithists have told you. Allow yourself to think outside of the box. If you read that, for example, you would come to certain verses where Prophet Muhammad himself is claiming he does not know where he will end up. He himself doesn't know what's going to happen to him after he dies. You guys are aware of this, right?
Yeah, I'll
Yes.
Okay,
bring the ayah right
Yes, sir.
now.
Yes, sir.
there we go. So how does the prophet who doesn't know offer guidance? If you don't know where you're going to be taken, whether to hell or heaven, how can you offer guidance? You cannot. This hadith goes against the Quran. Now, I understand that you might not be, how can I say, you know, in this world, you have to understand certain concepts to comprehend the Quran. And the Quran talks a lot about humanity and how humans interact with one another. There's a reason for this. There's psychology behind human mind. So if you can't comprehend this, you have to understand something. Any intelligent human being, any, they will always be smart enough to reason their point of view of life. Okay? So you can take, sometimes it even happened. They brought some Germans who were able to actually convince people that cigarettes was not bad for you. So you understand, an intelligent human being can always reason their point of view. And if you have been since childhood told what to believe, what to, what not to ask, like questions, who to ask the questions to, and then you come at this age where now you can read the Quran and you're unable to, you have to understand, you have to remove yourself from this bondage before you can even start your journey. Go ahead, guys.
Ninja, you wanted to add something?
I have another hadith when you guys are ready,
Be-
and that was
before
a great
before you
talk, by
go
the way.
before you go there, brother Insan, you said an amazing word called mush. I want to ask you, is that the mushy peas word?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Now I'm gonna show you guys something. You know the word mush. You said they are like mush. So mushrikeen are like mushy peas. That's why the word is there.
That's
Think,
amazing. I never made
Makes
that
a lot of
connection.
sense.
think
Makes
about it. Think
perfect
about
sense.
it.
Yeah, yeah, makes perfect sense. Yeah, that's
Okay.
how I view them, as mush. Yeah, yeah, I do.
That kind
Okay.
of ties into the next narration, actually, that I was going
What?
to quote.
Yeah.
It's at Tirmidhi, Jami at Tirmidhi 2302. 2302. And I'll read the English, but I'd like for if you're an Arabic speaker to read the isnad after I read the English. The best of the people are my generation, then those who follow them, then those who follow them, then those who follow them. Then after them, a people will come who will increase in fatness, loving fatness, giving testimony before they are asked for it. And in the isnad, there's like 5 or 6 people, I believe.
One,
If you,
two, three, 4, 5, 6, and then Prophet 7.
so this hadith is contradictory to its own chain, because it's saying the best of its people are the 3 generations, and like, if you're from the background of Sunnism, you already know what that is. That's like the Salaf as-Salih or whatever, like
The
the
tabi'un, the tabatabin, and all that.
exactly, and it's so funny to me that this narration itself is saying that after those people, after those 3 generations or whatever, that the people are going to be like fat and evil, basically. But those are the very people who are quoting this. Those are the very
That's
people who are quoting this.
that's amazing, brother Ninja. That's so amazing, man. It's
Yeah,
it's
it's like
it's
self-refutation.
I
wow.
wanna add to this. I wanna add to this. You see, this the what's okay. Now think about it. If this hadith was documented a long time after that, these people have passed away. All of these people mentioned in the hadith, right? What's the point of this hadith? The point of this hadith is to show people that whatever they have said, their narrations, they are important. That's the point of this hadith, basically.
Yeah. Can I add something as well? Like, if we think about it too, when you ask them, oh, where do you get your hadith and everything, they claim, like they always claim Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, etc. Like, if all of this that we're seeing here, a hadith and all, if it was really guidance and something from Allah, the first man to have done it is the Prophet, you know? So, did he forget to write the books? No, he didn't. It was just that Allah never ordered him to write books beside the Quran. And also regarding the Sahaba, why don't we have like a Sahih book, like they claim Bukhari and all? Why don't we have a book written by Abu Bakr, for example? Why don't we have a book from Umar ibn Khattab or Uthman ibn Affan or Ali? You
Good
will
point.
never find anything from their generations. And they always claim that, oh, there was some Sahaba who wrote Hadith. They'll tell you that 100%. Okay, you can ask them. These Sahaba, they wrote it for themselves, all right? But did they actually write the whole book and told people to follow it? And even if the Sahaba did it, doesn't mean it's correct what they did. Whereas the Prophet, for example, in other hadiths, he ordered them to not write anything. So if he ordered them to not write anything and they wrote something, they must be disobeying the Prophet. So it doesn't mean that if they did something, it means it's automatically correct. You get the point?
Of course, and it's like the Quran says that there were like munafiqs among the Prophet and or the Nabi, and he didn't know them. Like he couldn't identify who was a munafiq and who was like a true believer. So even if they did write these narrations, that's the thing. Like even if the history was something that we could prove, which we can't, that doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. But it does strengthen. It definitely does strengthen the point that you can't really substantiate any of these with proof. Like these chains all have like six people in them, like six generations. So like you said, you don't even know what your grandfather, your great grandfather, you don't know much about him. I don't know much about my great grandfather at all, really. And what I do know, if I were to say ask about him, it would probably be incorrect. So how would we know about six, seven generations? And plus, that's not including the fact that the books are really much older than that. It's really much more than six or seven generations. That's just what they claim, right? Like as Let's Find the Truth said, like these books, that's so interesting. One of the books called The Feminist. We got one that's called the Nuclear, with like the nuclear
Yeah, nuclear
reactor,
power.
and that
Nuclear
will be
power.
yeah. So that with that being said, it makes me think, well, these books are probably really from like early 19th century, late 18th century, something like that.
Yeah, I
Well,
think written around the floods, the mud floods. Maybe.
well, this is something that actually it's known throughout history. What they do is when they try to push narratives around, they create scientists, characters, what we call characters, okay, and then they give them backstory and whatnot. And the way to find, for example, if it's true or not, look at supposedly when they were born, look at if they were documented. So, for example, now the most recent scientist that's very known is Einstein. So a lot of people wrote about him, books written about him, documentation written about him. We have movies about him. So we can say for certain this person existed. But you look back in history, 200 years ago, you will find a bunch of characters that if you really do the research, you'll find they were people were not aware of them until very, very now. Like now, same thing could happen with these people. Bukhari. Look, for me, the way I see it is this: we have these books um, where you have a saying and then it goes seven generations into the prophet, knowing full well that as far as you can go maybe three or four generations back, and that's it, and then the people will be dead. So essentially you can never truly go to the prophet. You can't even go to the second one after him. You can even go to the third one, right? Like we said last time, hadiths are 200 and so years later. If you can, how can I say, if you can get yourself to believe this, I just want you to understand that you're believing in something that can never be proven. Do you feel comfortable going by what can I say? What am I trying to say here, Z? It's if
I
you
don't
can,
get it.
yeah, no, if you can get yourself to believe in something that is purely historical, which cannot be proven, which yet again mathematically you know that the actual people who supposedly said this are dead, so you can't even question them, and you're basing your whole life, your entire hereafter, on something that is number one historical, which can never be proven, and number two, even if that history can be proven, it goes back to the fourth or the fifth generation after the prophet. That's
Yeah,
it. So
yeah.
it is mathematically impossible to prove anything. And here we go again. And they tell you, so if you have these kind of questions like myself, they tell you, you know what? Don't have these kind of questions. That's not right to have. Go ask the people of knowledge. So you go ask the people of knowledge. What do they tell you? Bukhari had this ironclad way of doing this. He had this five method and five conditions, and everything has to fit this, and
They get
he
you
has
lost.
filtered. Right. So they had filtered this whole thing. He has filtered everything, and his whole method is perfect. And then you ask them, yeah, but why is it that nowadays there are hadiths that are being removed? If his methods were so ironclad, why is the community of so-called scholars removing some of the hadiths?
Yep.
And they tell you, oh, well, that's another science. That's another science called the something something. Oh yeah, and then when you put them onto that, oh, but there's something else. See, they go in circles and they do nothing but follow assumption and vain talk. Be careful
I
of stuff
think
like this.
I think that they've inverted people of knowledge with the poets. So the people of
Yes.
knowledge, I feel like is like
Very good point.
I'm not egotistical enough to say like me, but I say the people of Quran, like people like us who say like we accept the Quran only because we're using our logic, and it takes a lot of knowledge to use logic at like. But these so-called scholars, what they really do is just memorize poetry,
Parrots, yeah.
so they're not really people of knowledge. And like you said about the hadith, they hide these hadiths. Like, we could record for the next 24 hours and just go on what's in sunnah.com. But we all know that there's a lot that they have omitted from sunnah.com. Like they omitted the narrations that the earth is on a whale, for example. They're too scared to admit
Yeah, that's
they're
true.
too scared to admit a lot of
That's
these
true.
things, and
Yep.
they
Yeah,
won't
that's in
admit it.
Tafsir ibn Kathir, their famous book of Tafsir of Quran, Tafsir ibn Kathir. That's what he says. Noon, the first letter in Surah Al-Qalam. It's basically like you said, the earth is sitting on a whale.
Exactly, and they're scared to admit it. That's why they won't translate. They won't translate the tafsir books. Like, you guys know this. They won't even. It's like they're scared. They know that if we say this, it's like indefensible. That's why there's a whole video by Muhammad Hijab, right? And he's saying like, oh, it's inauthentic, this or that, and it's just silly to me though. Here's what I think is silly is that they tell you you have to follow hadith or you're a kafir.
Yeah, but you
You've
see,
left
see,
Islam.
you made a good point right there. Muhammad Hijab says that's not authentic. So he's not even believing in the hadith himself. He is going
Exactly, he's
against
a
the
hadith
hadith.
rejector.
There we go. So people, think about this for a second. Use your reasoning. This guy, Muhammad Hijab, and a bunch of scholars actually, they go against certain hadiths. Why is that? If Bukhari says, no, this is final, I've decided these are called Sahih Bukhari, who are they to go against hadith? So you see, even the people
Exactly.
that you guys are following, they're going against hadith. What they are telling you is follow our hadiths, the ones we want you to listen to.
Yep.
That's it. That's
Yep.
it.
And just to add into the point that you guys both mentioned, we have a verse here that explains it all. Their idols are Bukhari and all. So Allah says these idols are mere names that you and your forefathers have made up. A practice Allah has never authorized. They follow nothing but inherited assumptions. Like Insaan mentioned earlier, all the hadith is assumption. You cannot be sure 100%. History is assumption as well.
And
They
it's also
follow,
inherited. It's also
yeah,
inherited.
nothing but inherited assumptions and whatever their souls desire. Same as Ninja said, they say this is authentic and then they switch it. No, it's inauthentic, and then they say authentic again. They keep playing with their desires. Although Allah, what does He say? Although true guidance has already come to them from their Lord. Here's the Quran. Why are you guys wasting all your time to defend your idols, Bukhari and Muslim, where you can actually spend your energy to defend the Quran and learn it and apply it in real life?
And there is a verse in the Quran. I can't remember exactly which verse it was, but it says, "And you will know the hypocrites from their voice, their tone of voice." I don't know if you guys have heard of this before.
Yeah, I'll get it right now. Give me a
Okay,
second.
so that's something very, very interesting. You see, you would think what Brother Ninja was saying earlier, people of knowledge, or people of knowledge, they will have a certain traits. One of their most prominent traits is going to be they're going to listen a lot more than they talk, and they're going to be a lot more patient. So the reason for that is because they will never deny anything right away, because to them that's foolishness. So they will always listen, play with the idea, and maybe contemplate a bit, and then they will give you an answer what they think. But it's never, I don't think that's true, I think it's this way. No, these are traits of people of knowledge. Now contrast that with the so-called scholars of today. You cannot even, and you've seen some of their debates on YouTube, you cannot even utter a single word without them jumping and quacking like ducks, nonstop. So that verse that did you find it, Z?
Yeah, it's here on the screen. Can you see it?
Yeah. Signals in their hearts that not be able to expose their mouths. Okay, appearance. Yeah, there we go. So, you will, and you would have certainly recognized them by their appearance, but you will surely recognize them by their tone of speech. So this is something very important to understand. Sometimes allow your what do you call that? Your intuitive powers, your intuition, to talk to you. If you see a scholar comes with like his front teeth are made out of gold, I'm pretty sure none of you guys would listen to them. You would think that's a gangster. Okay?
Mm.
Same thing. There's something in the voice. There's something in the mannerisms of people. There's something, you understand. If you see, for example, um, a person talking, yelling instead of debating, contemplating, and being calm and reasonable, and that's not a scholar, I'm afraid to tell you. That's a propaganda machine. That's a parrot. That's a poet. Their whole purpose is to brainwash you. That's all.
Most of these people, when they're debating, they are around a lot of people. So I'm always like, if they are brought alone, right, more than half of their power is gone, because they are just like footballers. If you're cheering for them, they're playing good. So they need their support all the time.
They
You're
always
right.
do it like a 3v1, like especially if it's against the Quran alone person, it's like you can't really get a 1v1. You're completely right. And yeah, these guys are poets. I hate how they've abused as people of knowledge, because like to me like people of knowledge are people that can reason and use like logic. Uh, I would consider all of us people of knowledge, honestly. Like maybe we're not like the most knowledgeable people in the world, but the simple fact that we've come to this Quran alone, like that shows a level of intellect to me. But knowing poetry, being able to recite poetry, anyone can do that. Anyone, even little kids, sing songs. That's no different than reciting a hadith.
Yep, yep.
Can
And
I add something to this, Insan, before that?
yeah, go ahead.
So this is a very good point you made, Ninja, and Allah made a whole surah about this. It's called Surah Al-Shu'ara, poets, right? Here, what does it say? هل أنبئكم على ما تنزل الشياطين? Shall I inform you of whom the devils actually descend upon? This is a truth that Allah revealed to us. They descend upon every sinful liar, right? Who gives an attentive ear to half truth, mostly passing on sheer lies. And then he speaks about the shu'ara, the poets. As for the poets, they are followed merely by deviants. But here, shu'ara is not only those who are poets. It's people who have good speech, who when like motivational speakers, politicians, bro, they all have this speech and then, oh, we will make a change. Oh, this is how it is. But when it comes down to the real truth, to the real world, you'll never see them. You know what I mean? They're all talk. And they always play with words so they can tickle your emotions, but it has
That's why
actually
I
no
said poet.
substance. Yeah. As for the poets, they are followed merely by the deviants. Do you not see how they rant in every field? أَلَمْ تَرَ أَنَّهُمْ فِي كُلِّ وَادٍ يَهِيمُونَ. Meaning like every new path that comes in, they follow it. They go into it, like sheep. And أَنَّهُمْ يَقُولُونَ مَا لَا يَفْعَلُونَ. Only saying what they never do. إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وذكروا الله كثيرا. Except those who believe, do good, remember Allah often. That's mostly it. Like all the famous scholars you see right now, bro, this is one thing that I hate in the Muslim world. You can call it like Muslim, the Hadithist world, we would call it, like Insaan said. They're always here, bro, debating, talking about Hadith, talking about, always talking, man. Where is the actual change going on in the world, bro? How about Gaza? What's happening? How about in Uganda? How about in Ghana, Sudan, bro? What's up? All the resources that Allah gave them, nothing, bro. Nothing. Only talking
All
about
they want to
hadith.
do,
This guy said, this guy didn't say. Oh, this is authentic. This is not authentic. You have to use your miswak. You have to wash your hands with the. Bro, we get this. Time for action, bro. This is why Allah says, they only say, where is it?
What they
Only
never
say
do.
what they never do. They never do.
You
it
know,
seems like all they want to do is build masjids, and like all that's just a front for real estate money. Like it's because think about it. Like if you watch Muhammad Hijab's videos, right? Like he's in every one, he's telling you like, hey, donate to build a masjid. but you know what that really is it's just a front. They could call it a religious organization. They get it tax free. It's practically like a drug den. It's like drug dealers. They have a house and they sell drugs out of. That's practically what they're doing. They got this house. They bring people in. You give me money. Uh, in and out transactions. That's all it is. And right, like you said, they speak like poets. They have the way a Sunni ulama speaks is the exact same way a motivational speaker will speak. The exact same way a scam artist will speak. They have a way with words. You can't be a Sunni scholar if you don't have that way with words. Um, Eloquent speech. That's all you need. But anyway, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you guys off. I'm gonna go on mute.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's perfectly said, Ninja. It's
Yeah.
all these masjids are pretty much money front. That's all it is. This is why every single video from Muhammad Hijab and whatever the rest of them, it's always donate. It starts with donate all the time. Donate, donate, donate. For what? What's happening with all this money? Where is it
There,
going?
there is a hadith that you will get a house in Jannah. That's why. So they are
Yeah.
building houses in Jannah.
What is though? What I did see happening, and maybe you guys can tell me. You guys know Mufti Mink, no?
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
Okay.
even a
Yes,
blind
yes.
person knows it.
There we go. So the so-called hadithists that are listening, listen carefully to what this guy was doing. This guy was in a partnership with somebody else who wanted to propose, and it was actually printed, a Quran, but it only had 89 chapters. That's it.
Oh, I remember this one. He wanted to make a new Quran. Yeah, it was like a
There
year
we go.
ago or
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. So he came along. He says, brothers and sisters, with his fake smile nonstop throughout the whole
Dumbass, man.
video. And yeah, and he's like, brothers and sisters, I'm glad to tell you that we have this new Quran. It's purely for the English speakers with nice images, and we wanted to show them the chapters that have came in Mecca or Medina. I can't remember which one it was. The reason and blah 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 and a lot of talk and nothing, and that's it. So the people who might look at this and might say, "Oh, what a nice gesture," but you guys don't see the snake in this, do you?
Yeah, yeah,
Huh? You guys don't see why would you divide the Quran like that? You don't see the dangers of opening a door like that. Maybe next time it's gonna be, you know what? Let me just give them the chapters that are this, or maybe I'm just gonna put like some verses here and there, or maybe I'm gonna, you see, you open the door to that, it becomes like the Bible, where people,
yep,
and you will always have front men for that. They will come along. This was the trial. That was the trial. This was from Mufti Mink. Now this is supposed to be scholar. Now I'm no scholar, but I would think, y- you know what's a good idea? I'm gonna leave the Quran exactly as it is, and on top of the page I'm gonna say this chapter came from Mecca. This chapter came. There we go. Fix the issue. What I will not do, I will not divide the Quran into different sections and print a whole different book that has less chapters. What a stupid notion to say. But that's the thing. You understand, people, your scholars, they don't work for you, they work for the money.
yeah.
Be
They
very
work for the
careful.
devil, man.
Yeah.
I have shared a image, a thing, Insaan.
Go ahead.
Okay, now these are just four words. Quickly, I'm gonna talk about it. So you see the word obese. The word khabith is what it actually comes from, and these both mean impure. No offense to any people that are obese. Literally, I'm showing you how they've worked up the languages. The second one is iblis and as-sabil. They both are, like Iblis said that I will stand in the way of the path. And you see these two anagrams in Arabic. That's how Arabic language is so amazing. It like if you just change the root a bit, like you replace the letters and you get a entirely relatable picture.
That's very amazing.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
and
guys.
yeah,
Because
back
most
on that
scholars are
Mufti.
obese.
And with Mufti Menk, you're right. He made a Quran that only had the what they call as the Meccan verses, and but it's really funny. Maybe you guys know this. I've only recently become aware of this, but actually nowhere in the Quran does it say like this verse is revealed in Mecca, this verse is revealed in Medina. That was something that was made up by the people of the tafsir authors, and some surahs they'll even say like half the surah was revealed in Mecca and the other half was revealed in Medina, and they call it the sciences of Quran. And it also goes on. Well, actually, I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't laugh. This is not good at all. This is very blasphemous. Sometimes I try to laugh because I don't want to outrage. I don't want to hurt my heart. You know, you can strain your heart from being
Yeah,
angry.
yeah.
But yeah, this is what they call the sciences of Qur'an. Just like they also say there's abrogation. They'll say like
Yep.
I recently watched a video. They say that having a will is abrogated. Apparently, you don't write a will. And it's nonsense. Even
In
though
the
it's in
hadith.
Baqarah.
Yep. They say in the hadith like the will is not there, but in the Quran it says there is.
Yeah, because these
I
days, if
agree
you
with you.
don't make a will and you die, the governments will take whatever you have.
Yeah, the thing is as well, like what they don't understand, there isn't such thing as Meccan verse or Medinan verse. The Quran as a whole, Allah says, رسولا من الله يتلو صحفا مطهرة فيها كتب قيمة. Let me get the exact verse. Surah Al-Bayyinah. Let me see. Yeah, it's right here. رسول من الله يتلو صحفا مطهرة. A messenger from Allah reciting scrolls of utmost purity. فيها كتب قيمة.
We can't
Containing
see it.
upright commandment.
Share it, share it.
You guys can see it?
Yeah,
How about now?
can see it.
Yeah, we can.
It's only you, I think, bro.
Nobody else sees it?
We can see it. We can see it. Yeah.
I see.
Okay, perfect. So here it says a messenger from Allah reciting scrolls of utmost purity. فيها كتب قيمة. This is not the correct translation. What it says is a messenger from Allah reciting scrolls of utmost purity. فيها كتب قيمة, meaning different subjects. The Quran as a whole is a book that has many subjects. You know what I mean? For example, war. If you want to know how to conduct war in Islam, you have to go read different verses in different chapters so you can have an idea. And then you realize that war is usually to defend yourself or to defend the weak people, right? And Allah also, he spoke about subject of inheritance, for example. Each person has this part of the money, all right? For example, the mother, the father, the son, the daughter, etc. Another chapter as well speaks about, for example, marriage, etc. This is how you should look into the book. You know, it has different subjects as a whole book. So if you want to study a specific subject, you have to do research in the Quran itself. But these people, they also, like mentioned earlier, they found another way to deviate from the Quran. They invented Meccan period and then Medinan period. So you can go back to the books of Sirah, meaning their books, and then books of Tafsir. And that's how the shaitan misled them from the Quran. Whereas Allah says, this book has different other small like books, meaning chapters for each different subject, and everything is here.
Exactly.
What do you guys think about like Torah and Injil? By the way, this is kind of a different topic, but as far as I'm aware, the word Torah, it means like law, and people, not just Sunnis, but even like Christians and stuff, they'll say like, oh well, the Quran says, follow Torah, but that's like, they're basically just being intellectually dishonest with the Quran because they see something that looks similar to what they think, to what they have an idea of. It's like 3:7. It says there's ayah that are muhkamat and mutashabihat, and as far as my understanding is, the word mutashabihat means like appearing like something else. And from my understanding, Torah is like the commandments in the Quran, like be good to your parents, establish salah, that sort of thing.
For me, the Torah and Injil are just books that have been revealed for different messengers and their nations back in time, like Jesus and Isa alayhi salam and Moses. Moses had the Torah, Isa had the Injil, Dawood had the what is it called, the Zabur. So, and the last book that has been revealed for mankind is the Quran, which is basically has no errors. The other books, they have been tampered with, you know what I mean? So you can't really know the true guidance of God in it because it has been corrupted. Whereas
I
the
think
Quran, the last revelation, now has been touched.
I think the Torah and Injil are not like they're part of the unseen now, because the real deal is gone and they have some fake versions here to
Yeah,
misguide
yeah,
us, basically.
I
and
agree.
and for me, I think it's like any kind of instruction manual. If you have an instruction manual for iPhone 10 and you happen to buy iPhone 11, you don't need to read iPhone 10 anymore. You can look at iPhone 10 manual to realize where your iPhone 11 came from, but it's not really necessary. You read
Exactly.
the most up to date. But I wanted to say something, if you guys don't mind. Now I think it's time for the viewers to truly understand where hadith come from. Can I give a brief history? Is that okay?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go on, go on.
Okay. So let me explain. So I want you guys to visualize this. The Arabs before Islam were nothing special. That's the truth. A bunch of Bedouins, a bunch of tribal fights happening nonstop. Anyway, I think if it wasn't for Islam, they would have killed themselves to extinction. So Arabs were actually, if you look at throughout history, I'm talking about like commerce map and all that. They never went down to Saudi Arabia. I think most of it they stopped around Jordan. A lot of commerce happened then. They never even bothered going south to Saudi Arabia and so on. The reason for that is because it's just deserts. The people were not very friendly, I would assume, and so on and so forth. So after Islam came, Prophet Muhammad he built this people into something brand new, going from zero to something that's, I would say. By the way, Prophet Muhammad has been known to be the most successful human being when it comes to secularism and religious um, ventures. And so he turned these people from nothing into a powerhouse. Now
Yep.
imagine this: you're Persia, and then you're Byzantine, and you're Roman. Okay, all of a sudden you have this new momentum of these people who you used to see, you used to view as nothing, coming inside of your nations, taking over your nations, changing your culture from something that was proud, like let's say Persian pride, okay, into something that was more humble, more accepting of God. The elite class of those people, I'm talking about the Persians, for example, would never accept such a thing, that the mighty Persia has fallen to the Bedouins. Okay, so what happens? Well, I would assume if I were in their position, I would want to take my vengeance upon these Bedouins. And what do I do? Well, let me tell you something, because I know majority of you don't know this. The 6 books the Hadithists have, I'm talking about the Bukhari and Muslim and all that. None of these people were Arabs. Okay, majority of Hadithists, I'm telling you, none of these people were Arabs. In fact, they were all from Persia. That's number one. None of them spoke Arabic. They had to learn Arabic. That's number two. These people and the emperors at the time, or the caliphate at the time, when this whole thing happened, came from Persia as well. The lineage was Persian. In fact, one of the you guys might know Harun ibn Rashid, the caliphate. His mother was called Al Khay Zuran. I don't know if you guys have heard. So most of the cultural around Hadith has been Persian infiltrated and Persian induced. So I just want you to know this. Most of the Hadithists, because they don't know these things.
So you're
Anyway,
saying it's like a card basically that they used against Islam because they couldn't corrupt the Quran, so they invented like these books to deviate
that's
the Muslims from the truth. That's what you're
that's
saying.
exactly it. Yeah,
Okay.
that's exactly what I'm saying.
It
Yes.
makes sense. It
And
makes sense.
until this very day, you guys might see, until this very day, you have a bunch of people from Persia who happen to be the richest class of Iran, for instance, have always this hate against Islam until this very day. You see it. But again, I'm not saying it's them. I'm saying there has been something like this. There's always enemies and devils against the Prophet. It happens to be that it came from Persia at the time. And of course, you will notice that if you know anything about the Persian of the time, they had a religion called Zoroastrianism. Okay, they also used to have 5 daily prayers, like most hadiths do. They also had the 5 daily prayers in the exact same time the hadiths do. Right. They also had the Isra and Mi'raj, where the Prophet supposedly goes in
The
heaven to
Burak.
God.
Yeah, the Burak.
There we go. So a lot of what we call hadith culture is actually used to exist in Persia, Zoroastrianism. I'm just telling you to just ponder a bit. Okay, this is the history of where hadith came from. Again, Bukhari, Muslim, and all the other 4 were not Arabs, were all Persian. So just think twice. All Sunni people who are thinking Shia are wrong, because the books you have are from people from Persia.
Good point. Very good point.
Yeah, that's
Okay, I've shared a hadith. Insaan, if you could give a permission to that. Okay, now the thing is on this page. The first thing is this hadith authentic? So the question was, and this hadith is authentic as reported by Muslim in his Sahih. Okay, so the hadith is. Should I not narrate to you about myself and about the Messenger of Allah? We said, yes. She said, when it was my turn of Allah's Messenger to spend the night with me, he turned his side, put on his mantle, and took off his shoes and placed them near his feet, and spread the corner of his shawl on his bed, and then lay down till he thought that I had gone to sleep. He took hold of his mantle slowly and put on on the shoe slowly and opened the door and went out and then closed it lightly. I covered my head, put on a veil and tightened my waist wrapper, and then went out following his steps till he reached Bucky. He stood there and he stood for a long time. He then lifted his hand 3 times and then returned, and I also returned. He hastened his steps, so I also hastened my steps. He ran, and I too ran. He came to the house and also came to the house. I, however, preceded him, and I entered the house. And as I lay down in the bed, he entered the house and said, Why is it, O Aisha, that you are out of breath?" "Well, there is nothing," she said. He said, "Tell me, or the subtle and the aware would inform me." I said, "Messenger of Allah, may my father and my mother be ransom for you." And then I told him the whole story. He said, "Was it the darkness of your shadow that I saw in front of me?" I said, "Yes." He struck me on the chest, which caused me pain, and then said, "Did you think that Allah and His apostle would deal unjustly?" Now, the thing is, you know about Shab Barat and all of that stuff, that you go to the graves and you make dua and stuff. Basically, that thing has been legislated from this hadith. Okay. Now, the amazing part is that if this is supposed to be hikmah, right? If Aisha wouldn't have followed the messenger, nobody would have known about this thing. So, if this was supposed to be part of the deen, then why was it secret? You guys get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, this is how they've legislated, going to the graves and doing all that stuff that they do.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, you guys want to cut this today? We end it here.
Yeah, I
And
don't mind.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's
So,
okay.
to the viewers, thank you for listening. And hopefully next one's going to be a bit more. We're going to move on to different topics. Hopefully.
Inshallah, inshallah.
All right, guys, take care.
Thank you very much.